There is a story playing inside you right now, a quiet, invisible narration that shapes every decision, every dream, and every hesitation you've ever had. It's not written in ink or stored on paper. It's engraved in your thoughts, whispered through your beliefs, and reflected in your actions. That story, the one you tell yourself when no one is watching, is the reason you rise or the reason you remain still. You become it, you live it, you breathe it, and whether you realize it or not, it becomes your destiny. Every great empire, every towering achievement in history began as a simple inner story, a belief that said, "I can." When Edison failed 1,000 times, it wasn't failure that defined him. It was the story he kept repeating to himself. There's always a way. When Henry Ford was told he'd never build a car affordable to the common man, his mind didn't absorb the limitation. It rewrote it into purpose. I will open the roads to everyone. And when Lincoln stood on battlefields where America seemed broken beyond repair, he carried in his heart a story not of defeat, but of unity, a story of faith that refused to die. You see, life doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your belief behind those words. It listens to the story you tell yourself in silence. If your inner voice says you're unworthy, life will conspire to prove you right. If it says you are powerful beyond measure, the universe bends itself to your conviction. Most people don't fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because they never change their story. They wake up each morning trapped in the same internal script. I'm not enough. I don't have time. I don't deserve more. And so their days mirror those thoughts. But you have the power to rewrite that script. Right now, because the mind is both the prison and the key. Every time you repeat a thought with emotion, you're giving it authority. You're signing it into reality. You're saying, "This is who I am." And soon enough, your behavior begins to match the identity your thoughts created. That's why belief isn't wishful thinking. It's identity programming. You become what you identify as. If you tell yourself you are disciplined, your actions start to mirror discipline. If you tell yourself you are confident, courage begins to appear in moments where fear once lived. It begins invisibly, the same way a seed transforms soil long before the tree appears. Your outer world bends to match your inner conviction. The rich don't think like the poor, the disciplined don't think like the distracted, and the fulfilled don't think like the lost. What separates them is not luck, talent, or circumstance. It's the story they choose to believe. If you want to rise, then change your story. Close your eyes and imagine the life you desire. Don't analyze it. Feel it. Feel the freedom of waking up with purpose. Feel the strength of walking through challenges, knowing you are built for them. Feel the gratitude of already having what you once prayed for. This is not fantasy. It's alignment. You are training your mind to live in the vibration of the story you wish to tell. The moment your emotions believe it, your reality begins to follow. Think of every great builder of dreams, Disney, who saw castles in his imagination when others saw swamps. Jobs, who saw the future in circuits and glass. Hill, who believed thoughts become things long before science proved it. Each one lived from their inner story before the world saw it. That is mastery, to believe in what doesn't yet exist until it does. Your story becomes your atmosphere. It's what you breathe every day. If you fill it with doubt, you suffocate potential. But if you fill it with faith, you ignite creation. Faith is not blind. It is sight before sight. It is the courage to see the summit when you're still in the valley. So when the world tests you, and it will, you must stand firm in your narrative. You must look failure in the eye and say, "This is not my ending." You must see rejection and remind yourself, "This is redirection." You must meet obstacles and declare, "This too is part of my story of victory." Because your life will always echo your interpretation of events. The same storm that breaks one man strengthens another. The same setback that ends one dream refines another. And that is the difference between those who rise and those who remain. One rewrites the meaning, the other rewinds the pain. Listen, you were not born to repeat history. You were born to rewrite it. Every generation produces two types of people, those who live their circumstances and those who live their convictions. The first one waits for change, the second one becomes it. And the truth? The moment you start telling a new story, one of strength, purpose, gratitude, and power, everything begins to rearrange itself. Your circle changes, your energy changes, your results change. Because life mirrors back the story it hears most clearly. So start speaking victory even when you feel surrounded by defeat. Speak wealth even when your pockets are empty. Speak peace even when the world feels chaotic. Because that is how creation begins, through the story told in faith, not in fear. When you shift your internal language, you shift your entire life. Most people try to change their results by changing their actions, but Napoleon Hill taught something deeper. Change the cause, not the effect. Actions are the echo. Belief is the origin. When you change your belief, your habits follow. Your energy changes. Your posture, your tone, your focus, all transform in alignment with your new identity. That's why your story matters more than your strategy. You can read 1,000 books, but if your inner story says, "I'm not ready," you will sabotage every opportunity that knocks. Rewrite it. I am ready. I am prepared. I am the one. That sentence alone can change your entire direction. Because the world doesn't give power to those who wait. It gives it to those who claim it. Every morning is an audition for your new identity. When you wake up, you're not repeating yesterday. You're creating a new version of you. What you tell yourself in those first few moments of the day, that's your script for the next 24 hours. Say it with belief. Today I move with purpose. Today I honor my potential. Today I write the story of success. Because you are the author. The pen is in your mind, and every thought is a sentence shaping your future. The story you tell yourself today will become the life you live tomorrow. So write something worth living. There comes a time when you must stop rehearsing your limitations and start rehearsing your greatness. Most people repeat their fears so often that fear becomes fluent in their mind. They speak the language of failure with perfect pronunciation. But what if you became fluent in victory? What if, every time doubt whispered, you spoke louder with conviction? What if your mind became so filled with vision that failure couldn't find space to breathe? That is how transformation begins, not with a miracle, but with mastery over your inner voice. You are not a victim of thought. You are the thinker. You are not your past. You are the author of your future. The mind is the battlefield where your destiny is won or lost, and belief is the weapon that conquers all. Every time you say, "I can," you're training your subconscious to build bridges where walls once stood. Every time you choose gratitude over complaint, your frequency shifts toward abundance. The richest people in history didn't start rich. They started rich in belief. Carnegie, Rockefeller, Hill, Ford, all of them understood that success was not a matter of chance. It was a matter of choice, of thought, of narrative. They visualized before they achieved. They saw wealth in the invisible and pulled it into the visible through discipline and desire. The world they created was first built in the architecture of their imagination. So understand this. Success is not outside of you. It's inside, waiting for permission to rise. When you tell yourself, "I'm not there yet," that's okay, because every masterpiece begins as raw material. But the artist never doubts the marble. He sees the statue within it. That's what you must do. Look at yourself not as broken, but as becoming. The power of your story is that it can evolve. You can edit your past by reframing its meaning. You can redirect your future by rewriting your identity. Pain is not the author of your downfall. It's the editor sharpening your depth. Every rejection, every delay, every lonely night was preparing you to tell a deeper story, one that others can feel. Because power without struggle is shallow. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They're proof you survived the chapters others never reached, and now you're here, still writing, still believing, still fighting to make your inner story match your outer life. That is the essence of mastery, to hold a vision so strong it survives the storm. When people doubt you, it's not a reflection of your limit, it's a reflection of theirs. They cannot hear the story inside you because it wasn't written for them. It was written for the one who dares to believe in silence before applause. So don't wait for validation. Write your victory before the world recognizes it. You see, greatness doesn't announce itself with noise. It grows in silence. It grows in the hours when no one claps for you, when the world forgets your name, when even your reflection questions your purpose. That's when you decide who you are, because in those moments your story isn't being written, it's being tested. And if you pass the test of persistence, your name will one day stand as proof that faith still works. Think of Edison, working in darkness when everyone told him it was impossible to harness light. He wasn't chasing fame. He was following conviction. The light bulb wasn't invented through electricity alone. It was born from the unwavering story that whispered, "There must be a way." When the world told him to quit, his story said, "I'm not finished." When Ford's first company failed, his story said, "This is only the beginning." When Oprah was told she didn't belong on television, her story said, "Watch me build an empire of influence." And when Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, his story wasn't about wealth. It was about awakening. He wanted to remind the world that success is not a secret, it's a system, that your story is the seed, and belief is the soil. If you plant doubt, you harvest despair. If you plant faith, you harvest fortune. So ask yourself, what are you planting today? Are you feeding your mind with the same stories that limit you, or are you nourishing it with the thoughts that set you free? Because your subconscious doesn't care whether your story is empowering or destructive, it will make either one true. It will build evidence for whatever narrative you feed it most. That is why the poor stay poor in mind long before they stay poor in circumstance, and the successful win in mind long before they win in life. The story you tell yourself about who you are becomes the compass for every decision you make. Tell yourself you're unlucky, and you'll find proof. Tell yourself you're unstoppable, and the world will find ways to test, refine, and confirm it. The mind bends reality to match belief, so stop waiting for motivation and start demanding transformation. Stop repeating the language of limitation and start speaking the language of possibility. Because every time you affirm greatness, you give your future something to live up to. You're not pretending, you're programming. The law of life is this: you attract what you believe you deserve. And belief isn't built in a single moment of inspiration. It's forged in the daily repetition of your story. When you wake up each day and say, "I am capable, I am worthy, I am powerful, I am becoming everything I was meant to be," you are reconditioning your nervous system for victory. And when you act in alignment with that belief, you become unstoppable. Discipline is the ink that writes your story. Action is the proof that you believe it. Because faith without movement is just hope, and hope without discipline is self-deception. Every legend you admire was not just a dreamer. They were a doer. They took massive, unreasonable action in the direction of their story. They visualized it so vividly that reality had no choice but to obey. Disney saw magic in swamps. Jobs saw elegance in code. Hill saw gold in thought. And you, what do you see when you close your eyes? If your story is small, your results will shrink to fit it. But if your story is expansive, if it stretches beyond your comfort, beyond your fear, then every cell in your body will rise to meet it. That is how destiny is written, not in ink, but in intensity. When you begin to live according to your highest vision, something extraordinary happens. The universe begins to align itself with your conviction. Opportunities appear disguised as challenges. Doors open disguised as difficulty. People enter your life to play their part in your evolution. But remember this, your new story will always be tested by the echoes of your old one. Doubt will whisper, "You've tried this before." Fear will say, "What if you fail again?" And mediocrity will try to pull you back to comfort. But that is the price of rewriting your life. The old version of you must die for the new one to live. You cannot hold on to your past story and expect a new chapter to unfold. Release it. Forgive it. It made you who you are, but it does not define who you will become. The most powerful people in the world are not those who never fell. They're those who kept writing after they fell. They turned pain into paragraphs of strength, loss into lessons of wisdom, and fear into fire. That's how warriors are made, not through ease, but through endurance. Resilience is the ink of legends. When your dream is tested, remind yourself, the test is proof of value. No diamond shines until pressure demands it. No leader rises without rejection. No success story exists without a struggle worth telling. So don't curse the climb. It's sculpting you into someone capable of holding the vision you asked for. The mountain you face is not a barrier. It's a mirror showing you what you still need to become. Every obstacle is a message. Grow stronger. Every delay is a whisper. Not yet, but soon. And every disappointment is an invitation to trust your story, even when you can't yet see the ending. Trust it. Live it. Become it. Gratitude is the heartbeat of every abundant story. Most people focus only on what's missing, and so they multiply lack. But those who live in gratitude multiply abundance. Because gratitude is the language of faith. It says, "I already have enough to become more." When you thank life for what you have, you create the emotional frequency that attracts more of it. When you complain, you amplify what you despise. You are always broadcasting your story through emotion. The question is, what frequency are you tuned to? If you live in gratitude, you become magnetic to miracles. If you live in fear, you become invisible to opportunity. That is why Hill said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Because belief isn't a word, it's a vibration, and gratitude is its purest form. Wake up grateful for the breath in your lungs, grateful for the lessons in your past, grateful even for the pain because it shaped your strength. Grateful for the unseen opportunities forming right now. When you live from that place, life can't help but reward you. Purpose is the compass that keeps your story aligned. Without purpose, success becomes noise, motion without meaning. Purpose gives direction to ambition, soul to strategy, eternity to every effort. Find your purpose not by chasing what looks glamorous, but by asking what feels true. What sets your spirit on fire? What pain in the world moves you to action? What vision can you not die without seeing fulfilled? Your purpose is hidden in your passion, disguised as responsibility. When you discover it, when you begin living for something greater than your comfort, life changes from repetition to revelation. Suddenly the storms make sense, the struggles feel sacred, and the journey becomes joy. Because purpose transforms every moment into meaning. Now listen, your story isn't finished. The next chapter is waiting for your courage to pick up the pen, so write something worth remembering. Write about faith that doesn't waver. Write about action that silences doubt. Write about discipline that refuses excuses. And when the world asks who you are, don't answer with your name, answer with your story. Tell them you are the one who refused to settle, the one who turned rejection into revelation, the one who built an empire from belief. Because you are not just living a life, you are writing a legacy. And every thought, every action, every word is another line in that eternal script. So write it boldly, speak it proudly, live it fiercely. Because in the end, your life will whisper the same truth that has guided every soul who ever rose from ordinary to extraordinary. You become the story you tell yourself.